So I'm delighted that we're all here today. I'm delighted that Heston is going to be talking to us because I am personally an Instagram novice. We'll put
I've
it
never
that
seen you
way.
on Instagram.
I don't, I'm awkward on Instagram the same way I'm awkward with water consumption. It's like pictures of like nature and barbecue and my children, right? But we're here because Moxie is investing in education. And we really want to elevate the freelance community as much as we're able. That's why we recruit experts like Heston to show up and say, hey, here's the way to do it right. And so education is just always going to be a big part of how we want to show up. And I hope you all get a lot out of it today. I have no doubt you will. Heston, thank you so much for being here and, pulling back the curtain.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
I'll be honest, I have been a very long time fan of Heston's. And like when we started talking about Moxie workshops at the beginning of this year, I have a,
She
I
had a
shouldn't be
dream
telling you
list.
this. I shouldn't be
She
telling
had
you
a
this.
dream list.
Yeah, but I call it, I call it targeting. So I just save people on Instagram into my targeting, like save channel on
And I
Instagram,
made
and
the
you were
list.
like
Awesome.
number one. You were the
Yes.
list for a while.
The list
So
of one.
yes, this is like complete fan service for me. But also one of the things I love so much about Heston is how generous you are with your knowledge, that you are always like, hey, here's this thing that's happening. Like when Threads came out, it was like, all right, here's how you can use this. And everything you say is super practical. And I have like tried to comment on your Instagram, so like you know who I am, and you always answer. And I love that. I so admire like the community you've built on Instagram. And so I am excited that you're here to help all of us engage better and just learn a little bit more. So without further ado, I will turn things over to you, Heston. Snaps.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate the invite. It's great to be here with you, Michelle and Austin. And yeah, I'm hoping to say that by the end of this conversation, Austin will be able to say I'm no longer a novice. I'm a professional. And if not professional, he's close on the cusp of being an IG professional. That's
I
the
won't
goal. Okay.
embarrass my wife anymore the way I show up on Instagram, right? That's the goal.
Yes. So I think that everybody here has some form of connection to Instagram. It's become a beast since it's actually launched. And I don't know about you guys, it's definitely one of my favorite social media apps out there. And I'm going to go into exactly why it's one of my favorites, as well as how you can use Instagram to actually accomplish some of the goals that you have been striving for, because it is that powerful when you think about it from the online space. Among all of its competitors, it is pretty much at the top, if you ask in my opinion, and it's not going to let go. It's continuing to move forward, and I think it's one of those social media apps that we have to continue to pay attention to and engage with, because the majority of the internet, no matter what your favorite is, to some degree they have some presence on Instagram. So I want to share some of the reasons why I believe Instagram is the best, that you should actually put most of your attention to it compared to some of the other platforms. I'm also going to share some of case studies in regards to how I use Instagram, and I think some of the benefits that you may get out of it, in particular to the content formats that they have, because if anything, compared to some of their competition, Instagram has a lot to offer in regards to what you prefer to put out there in the form of content, whether it's video, whether it's text, whether it's a blend of both. So I want to share with you guys a lot about that and more, and obviously try to get Austin to say he's a professional by the end of this conversation. So let me see if I could go over to, I like that. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see. It's always nerve-wracking when you do not share your screen. I think you guys have it. Awesome. So we are going to be discussing today how to use Instagram to reach your goals. And yes, I'm talking about the type of goals that you can apply on social media. So first thing first, you're probably wondering who I am. So let's get into that. Let's see. Did it move? There we go. We got it. So allow me to introduce myself. Once again, my name is Heston Roberts. I'm the founder and CEO of Social Varsity. I am from New York, born in Brooklyn, New York, but currently reside in New Jersey, central New Jersey. And just to say, I've been introduced to social media at the young, tender age of 12, 13, way back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember any of these platforms that I have listed: MySpace, Black Planet, Mahente. This was my beginning that got me onto social media. And it's for that I've actually became a web designer and web developer from these social media apps. Because I used to have friends that used to ask me, hey, can you actually hook up my page? I need to do this. I need to have the text that flashes and scrolls on the screen. And from that was my introduction to HTML and CSS and all of those other programming languages. And I ended up diving into the world of information technology, where I then created a career 20 plus years as a web designer and developer, a little bit of work as a network admin as well. That was my original major, but I think, as most of us, we changed our majors at some point during our college years. So I ended up changing it to web development, and it's been amazing. I've been able to work with companies of various sizes and industries and sectors, and it's just been so interesting. But I've always kept that love for social media. I was using it for personal use, using it for business, as well as throughout the years, throughout 20 years of being on IT. And I started to gravitate more towards it, to the point where I started my own company. Just a little fun fact about me: I attended the same high school as a few other notorious celebrities. And I use the word notorious specifically because you might have got the hint, as I stated earlier, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So I actually went to the school, George Westinghouse, where the notorious B.I.G. was actually an alumni there. Let me just make it clear, I did not go the same time as the notorious B.I.G. I am not that old, but I went to that same school where not only was the notorious B.I.G. I remember a student there, so was Jay-Z, the late great DMX, Foxy Brown, and even Busta Rhymes. So that's a little fun fact about me, because I used to hear about stories about how they used to rap in the hallways. And unfortunately, I do not have a rap career to highlight during this conversation, but rather at that point in time in high school is when I found my love of social media. A little bit more about me: I'm the oldest of 6, married for 15 plus years with a preteen, pray for me, preteen daughter. And I love movies and TV, fitness and health. I am a tech nerd. I love Legos, as you could probably tell. I have a couple of Lego helmets behind me. And I am living about 3 to 4 years now as a pescatarian, which is interesting when you find out that there's so many others on social media that live the same lifestyle. That's one of the best things about social media. You find different people that meet or you can relate to that you had no idea was out there, whether it's in hobbies, your lifestyle, and interest. So that's a little bit about me, even how I landed on social media. And I want to ask you guys a question. And I'm gonna let you guys know right off the back, I ask a lot of questions. I like to engage with you guys. So one of the things I want to do is have you guys comment throughout this actual conversation. The first question I have for you guys is, what was the first social media platform you joined? I told you guys my own was MySpace, Mahente, and Black Planet. I want to see from you guys, what was the first social media platform that you actually joined? I want to make sure I got my, where are my comments? I don't see them just yet. Let's see. I'll figure it out along the way. I want to read out some of them as well.
Yeah, you see the chat. I think it's if you hover and then kind of bottom center. We've got a lot of MySpaces and a lot of ICQ, which is, and Friendster.
ICQ, wow, that's another one that I have not heard a lot about, but it's something that hey, we've all found our way to social media at some way and point. Zanga, wow, I haven't heard that one in a while. Yeah, I see some great ones out here. Orkut, awesome. And AIM. Who wasn't on AIM back in the day when they used to put ASL, age, sex, location? You trying to figure out where everybody you were meeting was from. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys found your way to social media in some way, shape, or form, because I think it's one of the best things that we were able to create. And there's lots of good behind it. So let's get back to the rest of this. One of the things that I've learned from being in social media and in IT is the idea of working smarter, not harder. It's one of my life mantras that I try to live and practice daily, whether it's in business or my personal life. And believe it or not, this is what led me down the path of freelance and then eventually my own business, because I wanted to find ways, my own ways and strategies that I could utilize into things that I enjoy. And social media being one of them was definitely something that I wanted to instill this actual practice into. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate to this as well, because the idea of working smarter, not harder, takes a lot of pressure and stress off of your shoulders when you're able to actually create routines, use strategies that actually help you accomplish your goals in more effective and optimized manners. And that's what led me to actually create my social varsity business. So I want to share a little bit about that actual business. I am a one-person, at the moment, a one-person operated social media agency with myself wearing many hats. As Michelle has noted, I have one of these hats in almost every color, but I wear these hats also in different roles that I play, not just as a CEO and founder, but also as the marketing team. I'm also the person doing a lot of the background as well as the camera work. So I think many of you guys can actually relate to that as well. As many of you guys might know, a lot of companies were started around the time during the pandemic, and that's when Social Varsity was established as well. One of the things that I've always focused on in regards to Social Varsity was to not just be an expert, because I think the idea of expert could kind of get lost, is to kind of be a guide. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just a couple of months, a couple of years ahead of where you might ultimately be. And my goal is to help you and teach you on some of the things that I may have done wrong so that you can avoid them during your journey and path on social media. So that's one of the things I definitely focus on. I also started to move more towards chat marketing, which is pretty much creating automated solutions via DMs on Instagram. You may have heard of certain platforms like ManyChat and more, and I'm going to explain, and you probably even see a few examples during this conversation, so stay tuned. I also, along the lines, started to co-host my own bi-weekly IG Live series, The Social Roundtable, with my co-host Social Media with Meg. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Michelle, that may have been one of the areas where you found me on Instagram, because us hosting this, we were able to reach out to a large audience almost every other week. And it's still running. We're taking a little break in September. This is September. But it's been really fun. I've been able to meet and collaborate with so many other different individuals, and it's just been a real great blast. So that's a little bit of Social Varsity and myself, but I want to kind of get into some of the other aspects in regards to what you could do with Instagram and what I've learned from this long journey that I've been on. So let me see, I got a few things there. And I want to move now into the idea of exactly talking about Instagram, what I sometimes refer to as the social media darling. And most people will wonder, why do I call it that? Why is Instagram considered the social media darling? Well, let's break it down. That's a serious number when you see it on the screen. More than 2 billion active monthly users. As of 2022, only Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp are above it. It's beating currently TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and Snapchat, some of them combined. So it is a major player in the social media landscape. Also, the fact that, before I go into this, also, like I said, I want to share a little fun. We're going to have a little fun during this. So I'm going to quiz you guys on this question right here. This is pretty much the country with the most Instagram users is blank. I'm going to give you guys a multiple choice question here. Please feel free to put it in the comments. I want to know what you guys think this answer is. Is it either Canada, India, Mexico, or the United States? It's one of those. It's the country that has the most users on Instagram. And I see a few people already jumping into the comments. I see a few answers already. It seems like India might be the favorite. But while you guys are putting that in, let me continue on with the rest of the conversation, because one of the other aspects about Instagram is the fact that it is the 4th most used social media platform. That's obviously, as I stated, after Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. And in regards to the amount of time spent on Instagram, 17% of time is spent on it by US adults. That pretty much breaks it down to 30 minutes daily, the average amount of time. That's pretty much a Netflix show. That's the amount of time that people are spending on Instagram daily. So there is a lot of opportunity for you to be engaging and be discovered. As well as 93% of marketers are using Instagram to find leads. This is an opportunity that we cannot ignore. Now, I see a lot of people have commented pretty much between India and the US, and the answer is actually India by no small matter. India has 229 million Instagram users right now, and that's compared to Instagram's 149 million. There are almost 100 million more users. And there's a strong reason behind this, which is really part of the reason why I believe Instagram is one of the key players that you should pay attention to, because India is one of the few countries that has blocked TikTok. TikTok is not available in the entire country, which happens to be Instagram's largest country. Now that plays into why you should start focusing more on Instagram. And I want to go into why I believe Instagram is necessary. Pretty much we used to hear back in the day, you need a website, you need a portfolio, you need a presentation, you need some form of presence on the web. I don't believe that's 100% true anymore. I think Instagram is trying to replace the traditional website. And in my opinion, it is succeeding. One of the things that Instagram has definitely pushed forward is the idea of mobile first strategy. If you ever notice, the majority of users are all accessing Instagram from their phones. You are capable of accessing it from tablets, although there's not an official tablet app, as well as the desktop. But the majority of users are accessing it from their phones. And that is that's a very strong, aspect to the platform, because the majority of our audience that are accessing the internet nowadays, they are all on mobile. The numbers for desktop and laptop are declining in regards to access to the internet. And also, it's a low barrier entry. It's pretty much you using your phone and taking a photo and sharing it with friends. Compared to like YouTube, where you have to learn how to video edit, there is none of that you necessarily have to do. They do give you that option to when it comes to Reels, but you don't need to do that. Also, in regards to why I believe Instagram is necessary, the diverse content offering. Now, we're going to go into this a little bit later, but it offers so many opportunities in regards to text, video, photos, images. You have your diverse opportunity here of what you can offer to your audience, no matter what you like or your audience. It is also now very focused on being creator first. They are trying to monetize the creator because they know that the power of the creator is what actually builds their audience. If there's no creators on board, there's no audience. So Instagram is trying to make sure that the creators are happy, that they have tools to monetize and stay on the platform and create. The more that these creators are creating content for us to consume, is the more that they are happy, because the longer we stay on the app is the more money they're able to make and the more their numbers look good at the end of the day. And last but not least, community building. I think this is really strong in regards to when you compare it to the other platforms like TikTok and YouTube, particularly TikTok, because that is the strongest competitor right now. But in regard to the community building aspect, I don't think anywhere outside of Instagram that there is a stronger factor of building a community where you can actually talk directly to your followers. You barely do that on YouTube, unfortunately. And TikTok, that's starting to try to make that rounds, but it doesn't compare to the power of Instagram's DMs, the comments, and more. So the community building features are top notch. Now, one of the things I want to share, I'm going to be sharing a few quotes in between, and this is one that I found. This seems familiar. This quote seems to have come from the one and only Moxie. I found this off of the website. And as you can see, it's pretty much, as a freelancer, you can use this platform to showcase your creativity. And that's where the different content formats come into play. Whether you're into video editing, if you're into photography, if you rather just talk and chat, you could do that as well. Share your best work and engage in conversations with your followers. And it's very key on how Instagram is used by various different people. So how does Instagram work? Now, that's a $1 million question that when you go online, you'll see many different content creators and coaches and guides trying to share their own opinion of how it works. Now, we have different ideas of how it works because of the information that we might get from maybe the main source, like Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram. But then there are things that we figure out on our own through our own journeys as well. Instagram pretty much has 3 different roles. There's the content creator, there's the algorithm, and the content consumer. The content creator, pretty much those that are posting content, they're the ones that are creating original content. And I put quotes around original because those are the ones, that's the type of content Instagram prefers. And I'm talking about images and video and text of great value and posted to Instagram in the form of reels, carousels, IG lives, and more. The algorithm is not an actual individual, but a machine learning process, whether you want to label it as just code and programming, that Instagram has. Now, it's not just one algorithm, there are many, and each one uses signals to determine the ranking of your content. The basis is on info on the author, type of content, the relationship between you and anybody else that sees your content. It takes a lot of this information and it generally basically figures out or factors who, when, and where to show content to. And then we have the content consumers. Now, we're talking about some creators because creators can also be content consumers, but the majority of Instagram's audience are content consumers. They're the ones that are actually watching the audience, the viewers of the content that, one, the algorithm has deemed worthy of us to see the content. 2, we intentionally seek in various ways, whether we go to somebody's IG story or just their actual profile account. And 3, it's either shared with us via our own followers, friends, and relatives that are already part of our community. This entire way of how I have Instagram labeled here is just pretty much a rinse and repeat process. You're a content creator, you create information, you share it to Instagram, the algorithm determines who sees it and when, and then your audience that it determines is worthy enough of seeing it consumes it. And at the end of it, you repeat the entire cycle. Now, a key point to remember is the more engagement your content receives, is the more consumers the algorithm displays your content to. So if you put out a piece of content there, whether it's a reel, and maybe you get 1,000 people to actually view it and engage with it, whether they leave comments, they like it, it's the more likely the algorithm is going to say, okay, this content seems to be performing well. Let's show it to more people. If by chance your reel is not performing well, maybe it only gets 5 likes and you have over 1,000 followers, the algorithm takes that and factors that and says, well, this piece of content isn't working too well with the audience. We'll show it to less people. Sometimes not at all. You might hear the term shadow banned. That's sometimes a misguided term of it, but that's when the algorithm doesn't believe your content is going to perform well, so it shows it to less people. You got to remember the goal of the algorithm is 3-part. 1, to satisfy consumers. You got to make sure your consumers are happy. 2, keep consumers on the app longer. The longer that consumers are watching on Instagram, they're scrolling, they're going into people's reels, they're communicating with them in the DMs. The more that they're on the app is the more money that Instagram makes, because apparently they're going to see more ads during their journey on Instagram. And 3, obviously, as a company, they have to ensure the protection and safety of the consumers by verifying creators of following policies. Now, when it comes to the algorithm, you'll hear many people talk bad about the algorithm. The algorithm is not liking what I put out there. The algorithm is going against me. We hear so many of these type of terms when it comes to this almighty algorithm. I want you to remember this quote. Do not focus on the algorithms. Rather, focus on your audience. Replace those 2 words. Because when you start thinking more about your audience, that's when you really unlock the next level. When you make your audience happy, they respond with longer time spent on the app, increased engagement, and more data. And all 3 of those things is what the algorithm is looking for. If you ever heard of the phrase, happy wife, happy life, consider that same phrase, but apply it to the algorithm. Happy audience, happy algorithm. That's how I like to consider it when I'm putting out and creating content. Let's see. I see a few of you guys are still talking about the countries, the largest countries in the comments. That's awesome. Let's get into the idea of defining our goal. because that's what we're on Instagram for, right? That's what we're on social media. We all have some form of goal that we want to accomplish. Generally, on social media, there are two different factors of goals. There's growth and there's nurturing. And to break that down, growth, what I mean by growth is conversion. Whether you want to convert somebody to become a follower of yours, you want them to become a subscriber, maybe to your email list or even your broadcast channel. And then you have nurturing, the engagement aspect of where you want people to like your comments. I'm sorry, to like your content. You want people to engage more with your posts that you put out, whether it's through likes, shares, and saves. There's so many ways that people can actually either grow on Instagram or engage. But I don't want you to think that it's always either or. You can do both. You can have a balance. And I want to share some tips in regards to how you do that. So in regards to growth, there are many ways that you want to do that. You want to increase the reach. You want to increase followers. You also want to increase subscribers and increase customers. Customers is very key as well. When it comes to nurturing, you want to start focusing on engagement, like increasing likes, increasing shares, increasing saves and comments, and of course, increasing DMs. I love to live by the DMs. I'm always in the DMs. That song always comes to mind. If you ever heard it, it goes down in the DMs. It's true. Whether you're talking about sales, you're talking about just community building, it goes down in the DMs. And I'll get into that a little bit further. So I want to get into what the key values are in regards to content on social media, because it's three factors in regards to all content that is successful on Instagram. And we have to realize that the consumer, and I hate to say this, but it's true, the average consumer is selfish, the viewer. When you think about what you're putting out there and you come across on Instagram, you're thinking about it in a way of what it can do for you, not for them. So when you're viewing content, you're coming across like, hey, is this going to boost something for me? What those three things usually are is educate, inspire, or entertain. Is the content that I come across going to do one of these three, or even a mixture? I like to use commercials as a perfect example. We all have some of our favorite commercials, and every commercial that we come across on TV does at least one of these three things. The best ones do a mixture to some form, whether they're mixing two of them or they're mixing three. The idea is to positively affect one's mood, knowledge-based, and or drive and perspective. When you're able to do that with your content, you're really reaching the next level, because that's when people start to share and engage more with the content that you create on Instagram. Share content that positively affects the reader and viewer. Your mission as a freelancer on social media is to grab your target's audience's attention with your skill sets. That is the type of content that I would suggest that you create. Capture their attention in a manner that entertains while educating them of your skill set, the products and or services that you have and offer, and inspire them to take action to solve a problem that they have. When you're able to create content that speaks to those viewers on this level, you're now creating and starting to build a community around you, because those are the individuals that are going to engage with your content as if they knew you. You ever heard of the KLT, the know, like, trust factor? The more that they see your content is the more that they get to know you, the more information that you give them, they start to trust you, and then they like you from what you're giving, as long as they're able to use it in these three forms: to educate, to be inspired, or to be entertained. Generally, entertainment works a lot on social media. It's one of the reasons why TikTok is so popular right now, because everybody just scrolls as if they're just watching endless commercials, and it's really working. But sometimes, according to what your goals are, you might want to actually change it up a little bit. You might want to educate your viewer. You might want to inspire them as well. So you always want to consider that along the way. For example, consider you're a copywriter. Copywriter use memes. Well, this is just an idea. A copywriter can use a meme to entertain and educate the do's and don'ts of creating copy. If you come from the point of view of a graphic designer, you could actually create the idea of a time lapse of a reel of you creating a print ad, perhaps, and show yourself doing that on the background, like if you're doing it from behind the scenes using Photoshop or any other tools that you're utilizing. These are ways that you can actually grasp your audience's attention. Yeah, I see. Share content that positively affects people. That's absolutely the key in regards to our content. But with that also comes in mind of having a strategy. You don't just want to put up anything that comes to mind. So let's talk about content strategy and why is it important. First off, you have to understand a plan that defines your overall goals on social media is pretty much a definition of a content strategy. We have to figure out how we're going to best attack our goals on social media using our tools that we have, specifically on Instagram. We're going to get into the content formats. You're going to want to make sure that you define your goal, as well as label and identify your target audience. You want to make sure you can discover content your audience enjoys consuming, and at the same time, consider content you enjoy creating. You don't want to just create content that your audience enjoys that you hate. You're not going to stick long enough in regards to that. You want to make sure that there's a balance in regards to what they enjoy and they like to consume, as well as you enjoy and like to create. You also want to determine the amount of time that you have in regards to creating this content. We have to be realistic. Many of us might be working 9 to 5 while doing this on the side. That was how I started. Some of us do have that opportunity to take it on as a 9 to 5, but you have to be realistic with the amount of time that you actually have to complete this entire journey on Instagram. Now, I want to get into some of the content formats. I kind of hinted at 2 of them. I am sure that you guys are aware of them as well. So I'm going to go through all of them. This is just a small diagram of the idea of where each one might fall into in regards to text, images, and video. And this is what I say in regards to Instagram. This is one of its greatest features. It's this array of content formats. Each one is various because not everybody likes every form of content. Some people might prefer video, so they might favor reels. They might favor IG stories that are video by nature. But some people, they might not have enough time to watch videos that might be 3 minutes, 10 minutes long, so they might stay away from IG Live. Some people like to consume content quickly, so I might prefer images like carousels and single images. So I want to go through every form of content right here that we have now. I see, is that J move? Laugh like no trust. Bye. That is I like the way that you put that in the comments. So I want to go over the majority of the more popular content formats and understand each one they favor to either engagement or growth, as I discussed earlier. That's in regards to the goals that you set in regards to Instagram. Some of them can actually be applied to both, and I'll get into those. So let's go over the content formats. And the first one is pretty much the first one that was ever introduced to Instagram. That is single images. Single images, as I'm quite sure we are all aware of, are pretty much either a photo or graphic image. They're generally the larger size on I would say generally the better ones that perform are the larger size ones on Instagram, which are the portrait size. Now, some of the benefits to single images are they are easy to create. You don't have to create video and then edit it. And they're also very high engaging of saves and shares. These are the ones that really can get the mover needing in regards to that. Now, some of the tips to optimize for single images, you could utilize high quality photos, whether they're from vacations, whether they're from your own portfolio work. You could really start to utilize a lot of these different aspects of single images, because when it comes on the screen and it's large in size, like a portrait, as I stated earlier, people are easier to consume it. They see it, it's bold right there in their face. And if you have something that captures their attention, they're more likely to engage. You could also use the larger size of it, as I stated, the portrait. And if it, let's see what I have here. If it includes text, please make it legible. That's one thing that I've come across on Instagram that many unfortunately are guilty of. They put so much text on their one image that it's very hard to read, because sometimes we forget, like I said earlier, the majority of people are viewing this on their phone. So we have to make sure that the text that we put out there is not too much on one image and that it's large enough to be read, even if it's at a thumbnail size. Now, one of my favorite other forms of content is the carousels. Carousels are pretty much the same as single images, but there's one small difference. Instead of having just, as I stated, one single image, you can have up to 10. 10 different images put together in one post. No more than 10. You can do less, whether you want to do 2, 5, 8. It really depends on the message that you're trying to portray in that particular post. Now, some of the benefits to carousels are that it is really high in engagement. The idea of carousels, I want you to kind of practice, is use it for storytelling. Consider that you're telling a story through the different posts, and each one has a different part of the story. What happens is people stay on that one particular post longer. That, as I stated earlier, the algorithms are really happy with. They want people to stay on longer. So if this type of post is making them stay longer, it helps to boost high engagement. And it's also highly effective for conversions. The more that people stay on that piece of content, the more likely they are to actually convert to being a follower or a subscriber or whatever you're trying to push to them via that piece of content. Now, some of the tips to optimize carousels are keep everything cohesive. It doesn't make sense to have one particular slide look like black and white, and then another one look like all multiple colors, and then another one in 3D. You want to keep it cohesive. Remember, you're telling a story, so the story should match from slide to slide. You also want to make sure that you encourage people to swipe through. Not everybody understands that it's a carousel, and some people might want to quit maybe before they're halfway through. Try to tell the story in a way that it's a page turner to get them to kind of continue swiping until the very end. Oh, and a very important fact, as important as the first slide is, the first slide generally has the title of the carousel. The second one is just as important. One of the things that most people aren't aware of is that Instagram shows the carousel twice if the person did not engage with it the first time. The first time the carousel is shown when someone is scrolling on Instagram, it shows the first slide. But if somebody passes it up, Instagram is aware of that. The algorithms are aware. And what they do is the next time that person might be scrolling on Instagram, it'll show the second slide instead of the first, because it figures you weren't grasping, the attention wasn't grasped the first time via the first slide, so it'll show the second. So what I generally say to do is to kind of follow up that same title, but word it in a different way that pulls in the viewer. Looking at, don't mind me, I got 2 screens going on, so I'm trying to read the comments and keep up with the presentation. I see, is there a good ratio of text to image, like 10 words over 50% of the image with good contrast? That's from Fran Tully. Thanks for the question. I would say the best thing to do, I don't want to give you one specific answer because it really changes for the audience. The audience that you have, different, they might answer differently. If you have an older audience, they might like just less words on the slide because it's less for them to read. Maybe they might like higher contrast. The younger audience generally likes different colors along the line. So I would say it's really based on the target audience that you're going for, and kind of research it and experiment with that, because that's something that a lot of people don't really consider. But I'm glad that you're asking that question because your audience can determine that as well. I generally say try to use a high contrast, something like black and white against the text. And in regards to the amount of text that you have on the screen, I generally practice less is more. But as I said, with the carousels, you have 10 slides. So you could tell 1-2 sentences per slide. And as long as they continue scrolling, it's like they're reading a book. Hey, Michelle, are we good on time so far? I want to make sure I'm going over anything.
I was just about to, literally just thinking, we got about 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay. Rapid fire. All right, so we'll go to Reels. Reels is what everybody knows as Reels. Reels is a great, another tool that's one of the newest features on Instagram. Video, short form videos. The major thing that's moving right now on all over on social media, whether it's TikTok, YouTube Shorts. This is journey great for growth, because what Reels journey does is it goes beyond your followers. So consider the idea of taking content like it's a commercial and trying to reach an audience outside of your general followers. Some of the benefits: has a wider audience and it drives traffic to your profile, which leads to higher conversion. Some of the Reels tips that I would give you to optimize it is pretty much never use a watermark. Instagram does not like watermarks. If you put a watermark on it, it is not going to perform well. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. You also can use reel covers so that you can actually create a thumbnail image and use that so that it has a title so people are aware of it when they scroll or come across it on the explore page. And make sure you are utilizing video to its best attributes, which is movement and sound. That is what generally captures people's attention with video. And if you have something that moves or hooks them in the very first 2 to 3 seconds of the reel, you're more likely to get them to watch the entire reel than them actually leaving. Now let's go to IG stories, another favorite that's a mixture of images and video. Some of the benefits of IG stories is, well, it disappears. Excuse me. It disappears after 24 hours. So consider using the idea of FOMO to actually help entice your content. You can also connect it with and engage with your audience using IG stories and stickers. And they're highly, highly effective for conversions. Realize that IG stories are journey pushed to your high connected audience. Those that are really coming to your profile and checking out your content. So consider them your VIP. IG stories should be pushed more focusedly to that type of audience. So you do have a higher chance of converting. And there are a few tips to optimize IG stories. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite, IG Lives. IG Lives, I know it can be a little bit scary going on live, but there are great opportunities to when you go on IG Live. Your audience gets to engage with you in real time. It's pretty much like what we're doing right now. And also your followers are notified in several ways. This doesn't exist for any other format on Instagram. When you go on live, your audience gets a pop-up notification of when you go on live, as well as your profile photo is moved to the beginning of the IG story feed. This is a great form of pretty much the idea of location, location, location. Imagine that applied to Instagram, where your profile is now seen at the top left page on everybody's homepage that follows you. That is true great real estate in the form of social media. And here are just some of the optimized tips that I suggest for IG Lives. Make sure you are prepared. I generally like to have an outline that I go over. Practice is a really great thing to do if you are able to use a practice mode. And always consider AVL, audio, video, and lighting. You want to make sure you're trying to provide the best quality of content that you can in that live session. So you want to make sure you're being seen, you're being heard, and you're providing the best video quality content that you can. I'm curious from those that are watching, please put it in the comments. Have you ever appeared on an IG Live, whether you're a host or a guest? I would love to know in the comments. Put it if you are on any IG Live, or maybe you just watch them. I want to know. And as we go over the last one, this is DMs and broadcast channels. They're very similar. DMs are one-to-one text messages. Broadcast channels are one-to-many, but only that one could speak to the many. They can't speak back. Kind of like a bulletin board. So these are pretty much new, the broadcast channels. They've been out for a few months now, but both pretty much focus on the text aspect of Instagram. Some of the advantages are that whatever message you send is sent directly to that person's inbox. And it gives you an opportunity to network and nurture with your entire audience that are actually subscribed or reads the message. Oops. Now I'm closing up here. How are we on time there, Michelle?
We are at the end, so I'll let you kind of wrap up.
All right, well, we'll wrap up real quick with these. I'll put them all on the screen at once. These are the strategies to increase engagement on Instagram. Show your face. Always include a relative caption. Make sure you add CTAs. CTAs are call to actions. You want to make sure that the user, the viewer, the reader, anyone that comes across your content knows what to do after they consume it. Whether you want them to leave an emoji in the comments, you want them to like, save, and share, let them know what you want them to do. Don't leave it up to them. And also to consider collaborating with others. At the end of the day, from all of this that I explained to you guys, I want you to understand two things. Content is king and engagement is queen. When you're able to understand that and practice that on Instagram, you're going to take your entire profile, your account to a whole nother level on Instagram that you can actually start building an audience. And when you're able to build that audience, you can have them move in either direction, whether it's you want to continue growing the community or engage with them on different levels. And that's how you are able to actually increase your opportunity on Instagram and make it help you reach your own goals. And if you agree with this, please just put it in the comments, a 1 or a thumbs up emoji. Now, with all that being said, I think I'm finally done, Michelle.
I love that. I love that phrase too. So good. So much great information there. Oh my goodness. I'll let you explain.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I went over the time a bit. But for those that were able to keep up, I apologize if I went over the time. I just want to say thank you to those that have been watching. I have on the screen right now a little QR code. I told you guys what I do, as well as an Instagram guide. I work in regards to social media, let's just say specifically Instagram automation. That involves chat marketing and chatbots, which I like to have a lot of fun. Michelle, you've met my chatbot, Brad.
so good.
So it's been very interesting developing this new form of communication on Instagram. So if you actually have an opportunity, I don't know where you guys are watching this from, but if you scan that QR code, it should open up directly to Instagram into my DMs where you have an opportunity to chat with Brad. Brad stands for Bots Respond and Deliver. So I hope you guys were able to take a lot from this to break down how each content format works, how Instagram works and more, and put it into practice. And as Michelle, you would probably know, like I like to end most of my IG lives using the same phrase, to step your gram up. And I truly believe in that, because I think we could take what people are sharing and learning and experiencing and experimenting with and put it out there into practice and learn how to make it work best for us. Not everything that everybody says is going to work 100% exactly how it worked for them, but we could learn from it and modify it in our own ways to reach our own goals.
Oh, I love that. A huge thank you to you, Heston. That just like blew my mind, honestly. Such great information, so much stuff I didn't know about Instagram. We will send out Heston's full deck here in the replay email, so don't worry if you missed anything. We'll make sure we send that out along with the full presentation so that you can take it all in again. But thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry that we didn't get to your questions. I tried to answer as many as I knew the answers to. In the chat also. But we will be back in 2 weeks, and we are so thankful to you, Heston, for just being so generous with all the stuff you know. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Excellent. Well, it is awkward Zoom wave time. I'll do Jeff's princess wave. I don't know if anyone's noticed that he does this at the end of every workshop. But I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Bye.